Okay, hi everyone. In the interest of time, I'm going to get started. Hopefully folks will continue to join us as we move along. Welcome to our June AETC eLearn call. Our topic today is on RSS feeds and similar compatible platforms like JSON, what they are, how and why they are important to consider for sharing information among AETC programs. Our presenter today is Clint, Ribble, media specialist, and so much more from the Southeast AETC. We'll learn a little bit more about him in a minute. Just a few reminders. Please mute your computer speakers to minimize hearing feedback on the line. If you do need to step away from the call, please do not place us on hold, hang up, and call back to avoid possible interference with hold music. And as always, this meeting is being recorded and will be posted to our website after the call. My name is Judy Collins, and I am with the AETC National Coordinating Resource Center, and I am facilitating this call for today. So we have been floating around the topic of RSS feeds for some time now, and our initial thought was to have it integrated and operating between our website and other program sites before presenting it on an eLearn call, but it didn't quite work out that way. So we didn't want to miss an opportunity to present some of the basic baseline information about RSS feeds to get folks thinking about how they work and how they can help to minimize some of the steps for sharing information and resources with the NCRC in particular. For housing on our website so we can promote your work, but also to facilitate the sharing of information between regional sites and regional to local partners and vice versa. So our learning objectives are to understand the purpose and value of this platform, know what to consider and what technology is needed before implementation, and an important step that I didn't consider was how to actually format your content for dissemination through this technology to help advance our program goals. And lastly, Clint will review some additional solutions to provide connections between different services. So this will be an interactive meeting. Our presenter has some fun and interesting techniques built into the presentation to help everyone engaged and focused. Just a reminder, this is going to run into 1 hour and 45 minutes. So we hope to be on time and stay within that time frame. Before we get started, just a few more words about Clint. In short, he is a media arts master whose experience and skills include sound design, audio production, website development, and other technical arts. He's a media arts veteran of over 20 years and is currently the Interaction Design and Media Specialist at Vanderbilt University Medical Center, where he's working with the Southeast AETC. He has a bachelor's degree in computer information technology. He is mobile sites certified from Google and user experience and user interface certified from Adobe. He lives in Nashville with his family and is currently pursuing a Master's of Science in User Experience Design. Clint, you sound incredibly, technically, artistically busy. And with that, I will turn it over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Judy. Busy is maybe an understatement sometimes, but we definitely enjoy what I do. And I'm really looking forward to the presentation today. So, am I sharing my screen yet?
I'm going to stop sharing right now. There you are.
How's everyone doing? I know typically these calls are, we kind of tune in, we listen in, check some email, and we listen hoping to glean some things while we eat lunch and get a little bit of side work done. I am guilty of that. I know we're all kind of there in that same boat. I'm going to try and engage everyone a little bit more this time around, just because this is really surprisingly applicable to what we do. And we're not going to get into weeds too much with code. So I want everyone to feel really comfortable and like this is more of a conversation and really interactive. First and foremost, we're going to be using a platform called Mentimeter to do the presentation. And so either on your phone, on your cell phone, or in a new browser tab or new window, I'd love everyone to go to menti.com and then you can type in the code 231590, and once you're there, go ahead and give me a little thumbs up, and you'll see it. You'll see the little thumbs up. I'm hoping. Yeah, there's one. Perfect. We have one down and a few others to go. So 2, great. You guys are coming in, and that's fantastic. So while that's happening, you can keep giving me either thumbs up, thumbs down, or if there's something you aren't quite understanding, hit the question mark, and that will help me know that I maybe need to address some more information there. Really, the first thing that I want to hit is if you remember anything, I want you to remember these 3 key things. One, RSS feeds are about content and content strategy, and there's some really important takeaways there, so we'll be addressing some of those. We're going to talk about how RSS and JSON fit in. It's maybe not as complicated as conceptually as you might think it would be. And then I want everyone to remember this really is an achievable goal, and it's absolutely worth it. It is worth the time, so I really appreciate everyone jumping in here. So first, let's go ahead and, if you would, just go ahead and answer the next poll. Just tell me where you're from, maybe what region you represent. You just hit, yeah, and this kind of gives me an idea of where everyone's from. I'm actually in the southeast, so I'm gonna, oh, someone in my office is tuned in. Thanks to whoever that is. It's great. I'm just gonna give it a couple more seconds here, and we'll keep going. All right. So in fact, actually the southeast person, I think I saw Megan on there. So Megan, that might be you. All right. Okay, so the next question is, do you know if your site is capable of RSS or JSON? And I'm hoping, well, we could get a spread of answers. We had 5 answers on the last question, so we should have 5 more responses here. And we'll see where we're at. So, unsure. Okay. All right. Great. So let's just quickly run through the basics of what RSS is. It truly is the plumbing of the internet. And if you think about it as like a water reservoir, that water transfers from the reservoir to all the houses and buildings and businesses that need the water. But it's, you know, it does a lot of things for us. So I want to kind of give a couple of examples here, so we can kind of wrap our heads around what's happening. If you think about your television subscription service, it doesn't really matter what it is, even if it's over the air and you're not subscribing to cable. Every channel, every television station has a lineup of programs, and those lineup of programs have the title of the program, has the time of the program, and has information about the program. Well, if you have Cox Cable, if you have Time Warner, if you have Comcast, pick your provider du jour. You know, in this case on the screen, we see that Bravo has the movie Titanic at 6 p.m., but that's not exclusive to Cox Broadcasting. It's also on Time Warner Broadcasting. Time Warner does not have that information in their boxes. They're actually going to Bravo to grab that information, and it spreads out. So Bravo only needs to update and say, we have Titanic at 6 o'clock, and this is what the movie's about, one time, and then it's spread to every house across the country, and they have access to that information. Another example, really what popularized RSS feeds was the podcast industry. So if you've ever listened to a podcast, you absolutely are using RSS feeds to listen to your episode of Serial or How Stuff Works, or Car Talk, or whatever you listen to. Those all use it's a text document that then you can subscribe to using the iTunes or Google Music platform. It's a very, very effective way to spread information. Another real quick example is news readers. I use Apple News Reader, I use Google News Reader, and I can subscribe to multiple feeds and multiple sources of information come into my app. I don't have to go out to New York Times and CNN and these other sites to get that information. It just kind of is hand delivered to me. So it's a really effective way to transfer information. But keep in mind that RSS feeds, and we'll get to JSON in a second, they're just text files. There's nothing special about them. You can open them up on your computer. You can actually look at the raw data, and by the end of the presentation today, hopefully you'll be able to make sense of some of what's going on within those feeds. So hopefully your eyes are crossing right now, but this is what RSS feeds look like. I have two different web browsers up here on the screenshot. The one on the left is Chrome. Chrome kind of takes the approach of, you just gave me a text file, here's what's in the text file. Firefox, this is just a side note, Firefox takes the approach of, oh hey, this is an RSS feed, you probably want to do something with that RSS feed, so I'm going to give you that chance, and I'm going to go ahead and format it for you in a way that actually makes sense. And that, I mean, it takes the title and a picture maybe, this is just a feed from our site, a description, date, and it formats it nice so it plays well with others. Whereas, you know, we kind of see in that example, you know, Chrome really, this is that same feed in Chrome, it's all text. But if we look at this text, there's a title, there's a link, there's a description that's not filled out in this one, so not a great example. Here's a title, here's a link, here's the date it was published, here's my intern's name, Jake, who published it, and then here's the description, you know, with more information. So it's all there, and it's even broken down so I can read it. It's just that Chrome doesn't really know how I want to read it, so it's not formatting it for me. But that's essentially what an RSS feed is. It's just text that is wrapped around some information so that that way it can be consumed by other websites or devices. I want to touch really quickly on the difference between RSS and JSON. Drupal websites, which is what the NCRC site uses as their foundation, prefers JSON as a data source. It is essentially the same thing. What we're talking about here are lemons and limes. They're both a little tart. They both take a little bit of getting used to. They're a little different, but essentially they're both very similar fruits. RSS is a little easier to set up and kind of look at and read, but JSON is way more flexible. So if you have a site like the NCRC site where they have numerous resources of information coming into them, JSON makes a lot of sense because they're able to actually take the information, aggregate it all into a centralized location, and then publish that, republish it on their website without any additional work. On our end, on our partner sites, on our local partner sites and the regional sites, we publish it and it pushes right to the NCRC site. And we'll kind of talk about a little bit about how to do that and why that's important kind of as we move through this. Am I going too fast for everyone? Do I need to slow down? Someone give me if I need to slow down, someone give me a thumbs down. If I need to speed up, or if the pace is just right, give me a little thumbs up here. Let's see, anybody? There's, okay. All right. Great. So what's next? Oh, yeah. What's next? I don't even want to show this because this is just nasty. I mean, I can imagine if I'm not a coordinator, but I work closely with our coordinators, and whew, my eyes cross on the left. That's the JSON feed as Chrome sees it, and on the right is an organized structure. It's just more flexible. The good thing is you guys don't have to work in this environment. But what I do want to show you, just to kind of maybe make things a little bit more palatable, is that this is the JSON schema that a Drupal website uses. And it's really pretty straightforward. What we have here is a title. We have a description, even with a little comment of the title of the event. This is actually the title and a description of the title. We have a link, we kind of have some data about the link, but then we have what the actual link is, and then we have the link title, which is needed. We have an event image. What, how are we going to attract people to our events? We encourage all of our events to have kind of this featured image that makes the events shareable and entices people to want to register. Well, that event image has to sit on a website somewhere. So here's the link to the event image. Here's a description of the event, the start date, the end date. One of my favorite pieces of information, the unpublished date. I don't know if we've ever really considered when should an event no longer appear on a website? When should that be unpublished? Obviously, after the event has happened, but how far after the event has happened? Those are discussions that we'll kind of talk about in a few minutes. Location, address, city, states here, zips here. As you can see, really, this isn't scary. It's all things that we think about and do. It's just a structured format to contain that data. It's the tricky part and the kind of the confusing part is, okay, all right, so that's the JSON schema. How do we populate that information? How do we set up what we're doing to make this happen? Right? I mean, that's the part that kind of gets me in. Okay, so first off, I need to know, am I doing the things that matter? So to kind of bring this back around here, this is not a trick question. This is actually a very easy question. Just take a second and type in any website that you think uses RSS for content distribution. I kind of named a couple at the beginning of the presentation. If you visit a website where you get news or information or updates, go ahead and just type in the website. You don't have to put in .com. You don't have to put in any, yeah. So 538.com, one. We have another one. Let's put in a site that I go to often. cdc.gov. CNET is there. So the Vox, great. Yeah, sites, these are all very different websites, but they're all using New York Times, perfect. They're all using RSS feeds to push out information so that way consumers or anyone can access that information. So let's quickly just talk about the research. We've kind of been, as Judy mentioned, this has been an ongoing discussion, and sometimes we don't want to spin our wheels, and we also don't want to spend time on things that don't have lasting value or aren't going to make an impact on what we're actually about and what we're doing. 32% of sites globally use RSS, which is actually a really big number when you think about the kinds of websites that exist. My son has a website that he built on robotics. He's not using RSS feeds. So that's a pretty big, hefty number. A research firm out of France did a study where they really looked at the intent of how RSS feeds are beneficial to businesses and companies and publishers. And their conclusion was that it helps you focus your content. And what that means to me is I love technology and I love being on the cutting edge of things and I love what's new and what's latest and what's greatest. So my news readers, my apps that I use on my phone to find out what's happening in the world are technologically driven. The content is driven from a technology standpoint. What I don't care about is what dress the latest celebrity wore and who is marrying who in Hollywood. I don't really care about any of that stuff, so I don't really want that showing up in my news feed. The great thing about RSS is it helps focus the delivery of the content. I'm not familiar really with Built With as a company, and so I don't know how their research is, and XITI from France, I don't speak French, so I'm not familiar with that. I'm going to show you one more study in a second. But first, I just want to share with everyone one thing that we do often is remind ourselves about our motivation. And I was sitting in a case conference about a year ago, and a new patient was presented who was 19 years old, and he had just moved here to get away from a relatively rural part of the state. He needed to kind of reset his life, 19, and was HIV positive, and he doesn't know when he became positive because it was sometime between the ages of 5 and 12 when family members continually raped him between those ages. And my heart broke. At the time, I had a 10 and a 12-year-old. And I thought to myself, this young man needs the best possible care that can be afforded, that can be provided to him. And my role as a conduit of providing information, I need to do the absolute best I can to provide providers with the opportunity to take care of this kid. And I can't even imagine what he goes through. And our medical director, Dr. Rafani, leaned over to me and said, can you imagine every time he takes his medication that what he's reminded of? He's reminded that this was done to him every time. And so I get to be part of this person's success. So what I want to do, my goal is to be undetectable. I want to do things so well that you don't even know that I'm doing them because they're just seamless and behind the scenes. And I hope that's true for all of us. The next study is by an organization that we're all much more familiar with. The NIH did an actual study on the effectiveness of RSS feeds. They were hoping, the study was looking at retention of information. Do people learn more when they're able to get information by RSS? And actually they found out that that's not true. They don't learn less, but they don't learn more. What does happen is they do show a measurable increase in familiarity with the content. Now, my motivation is this 19-year-old kid. My motivation is not funding. My motivation is undetectable for this kid. However, we're all aware of the funding situation that's going on, and in order for us to keep doing what we're doing, funding is an issue. And there's no time like the present to increase familiarity with our content. So this is so important for us, and I think it's worth the investment to take the time to implement solutions like this. All right, I'm going to step off my little box, and we're going to talk about content. Content is truly king when it comes to what we do, right? We're delivering training, we're delivering the best training, but we need to constantly remind ourselves of how we're formatting and organizing the content on the web. There's a little bit of a process to this, and I'm just going to kind of give an overview of what that process is. But the first step is to always remember your user's perspective. Who is consuming? Who is reading, downloading, obtaining this information? And think within the mental model of that person. If it's a doctor, social worker, nurse, any healthcare worker, intake coordinator, front desk worker, they have an idea of how they're going to receive and view that information. We have a little bit of a workshop coming up. So if you kind of tuned out and switched over to a different application, now's a good time to hop back in, and we'll get through this pretty quick. The next thing is, what information does that user need and what information do they want? So as opposed to the information you necessarily or we necessarily want to give them or think they should have, constantly be thinking about, okay, the person registering for this event is this type of individual. And then make sure that from their perspective, you're able to deliver that. Another information, which I kind of hinted at before as to when things expire, is timing of delivery. How far out are we publishing and looking at events? And this all plays into RSS and JSON, so stay with me here. And finally, content grouping. Does it make sense to put webcasts with an event that takes place that's focused, it's a live event for rural providers in Nebraska where someone from Georgia can't make it. So, but if you're doing a low volume rural provider webinar, the person from Georgia absolutely would be applicable to attend. So how content is grouped and organized together really, really matters. When that type of information has been determined, and that's kind of the order you go through, then you can really truly map it to this data system of RSS or JSON. Ultimately, we're trying to get to JSON. Okay, all right. I'm going to pause for a second. I'm going to kind of watch for the little question mark. Does anybody have a question as it relates to that? No? All right. So I'm going to keep going. We're doing good on time. All right. So now here's the workshop. Hopefully everybody's kind of come back in. This is an easy question, not a trick question. And I'm going to put in a couple answers myself. What information do our users need about training? I'm going to throw in time. And hit submit. Okay. So they need to know what the time of the training is. Anyone else want to throw in an option here or something that you think our yeah, right, dates, topic, time, speakers, location. Perfect. What about event details? Yeah, great. Let's see. Target audience. Good. Target audience is great. That's absolutely where you should be thinking. These are all exactly right. So if you've never done one before, this is just, I want to kind of entice you guys that not everything has to be done in technology. Here's our team doing a card sorting exercise where we're actually looking at the information that we need to gather, and we're sorting it and organizing it. And in order to figure out how, in this case, it's actually 3 different card sort exercises with 3 different systems. They all can kind of look differently. One, some are on whiteboard. One, the lower right corner is information on my wall, and then there's a table with cards. Blue is the kinds of data we need. Pink is the kinds of things that our end users expect to get, and yellow is the kinds of things that we want to send out. And then we organize and structure them. And this really helps us wrap our heads around what we're producing and how we're promoting and that information out there. And it really ties in, as we saw, with JSON. When we kind of go back here and we look at these JSON feeds, we see we have a title. This is description with some HTML that's being formatted by our website. We have how that's going to appear, if the registration is open or closed, what the titles are, what the picture is. This is all information that is determined in large part by what we do with the card sorting activity. If you've never done one, as a team, it's a great exercise because you get so much perspective from everyone else sitting around the table. Okay, next. I'm just going to quickly touch on some helper tools here, and then we'll kind of open it up for some questions, some discussion. First off, the CMS that you use for your website is going to be your biggest asset, whether it's WordPress, Drupal, Joomla, or a homegrown website. I'm going to switch back here to, let me just see if I can pull up my chat. Okay. All right. So I have the chat up. And there was a few of you that answered, I think, unsure about your website's ability to use RSS feeds or JSON feeds. I have some good news for, at least for all the regional sites. Before the talk today, I went to everybody's website, looked at the code, which is not terribly difficult to do, and just discovered that every single one of us is either using Drupal, which is what the NCRC site's using, is using WordPress, or is using Joomla. And I just want to show you something here. I'm going to hop over here to the website. I'm going to hop over to the great and mighty Google, and I'm going to go to Joomla. JSON feed. Now, it's New England. Y'all are using Joomla. So right here are all the plugins that you need ready to go to plug into your website if you're not already there. So I want to give you guys hope that it's actually pretty easy. Surprisingly, everybody's using Drupal 7, not Drupal 8, which turns out to be easier for JSON. So it's a JSON plugin that installs and is ready to go for Drupal. And that is what the NCRC site's using already to begin with. So using these plugins, you're actually able to, Mid-Atlantic is using Drupal for your core, but then you're using a custom data management system, which is generating RSS feeds. So is that right, Matt? Are you Mid-Atlantic? No, oh, you're not using Drupal. Okay, maybe I had that wrong then. That's okay. Okay. But if I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong, but if I'm not mistaken, you guys are generating an RSS feed. So we'll show how to get that. Yeah, great. We'll show you how to get that RSS feed into JSON, at least initially. Okay. So then you have services like Zapier and if this then that. If this then that, I just want to kind of set as an aside, will not work in this scenario, but a lot of people are familiar with it, and I don't know if it's Zapier or Zapier, but that service is able to take a lot of data management systems and convert them to RSS feeds. And as we move, the Southeast moves to our own custom system, we're going to need to use something like that as well. But they have tons and tons of services. So if you're not using your built-in CMS for event management and you're kind of doing what Mid-Atlantic is doing, where you have your custom management system going, you might need something like this depending on what how the back end is set up, or you may need some custom code to either generate JSON or generate RSS. So we'll be able to get there. And then finally, there's this RSS to JSON, these types of services out there. And this is a little program that runs on the interwebs that takes RSS feeds and converts them to JSON for you. It includes a bunch of helpful little tools. So if I take the Southeast RSS feed, now I don't actually need to do that because we already have JSON coming out, but it took the RSS feed and converted it to JSON with the nodes. Now, this isn't necessarily a one-to-one match with what the NCRC needs, but it gets us a whole lot closer. So now all we have to do is look at how the RSS feed is generated, which is actually gets a little bit in the weeds, a little bit beyond the topic of today, but it's a little bit of code, creating a little function on the side, and then it can be done. And that's true whether you're running any of the CMS sites. But it probably isn't terribly difficult for even Mid-Atlantic to do because they still have probably a PHP file or some type of file that's taking data from their database and converting that to an RSS feed. That is my guess, Matt, and he's going to either correct me here or he's going to say, right. He's typing. Sitting tight. Yep, that's right. So there we go. All right. So that's really it in a nutshell. And what I'm hoping is that it's not terribly. Oops. Whoa. What happened there? That was weird. Slow down. Slow down. Slow down. Slow down. Sorry, I swiped across my Mac's trackpad and it just went crazy. Okay. All right. So what's next? These are the next steps for you guys. Analyze your content and events. Take a hard look at how they're set up. And we kind of did that little, you guys typed in some cards. You said these are the things that our learners need. Make some more, really think about it. Determine if your feed already exists. Hint, hint, it probably does or it's really, really close. I think I went and looked at Midwest Drupal feed and it just needs to be enabled in the back end administration. I obviously don't have access to that, but we're talking about a few checkboxes and a little bit of typing in the administration level. We're all so close to this. Format your content so it's feed friendly. What I mean by that is if we go back, and what I'm going to do here, not today, but I'll do this over the next week or so, is grab the things that you need to make sure that are included in your feed. Event image, event link, event title, dates, etc. And we'll send that out. I'll send that to Judy, who can pass that along to everyone. And we can start formatting our content so it is ready to go. Got to stop swiping across my... Come on, stop. Hold up, hold up, hold up. Wow, okay. What is going on? Okay. And then if you need a tool, like the RSS to JSON converter, those types of tools exist, or Zapier. And then finally we end up with a JSON feed, and we send those over to NCRC. Everybody's happy, and we're doing our thing. Okay. So a couple final thoughts or comments. Matt, thanks for your help there and shooting me some chat information. Here in this box, if you guys wouldn't mind, any final thoughts? I'd love to have everybody just type one or two things in, something that you could take away, something that you're going to, something that stood out to you, something that either you think you can apply. Maybe it's something that you have more questions about, where you're thinking, oh, I need to know more about whatever. Or maybe it's as simple as, the sun is shining today, I can't believe I'm sitting inside my office when we could be outside enjoying the beautiful weather. Unless maybe you're in New Orleans, there's some bad weather coming. So kind of think about this. Give everyone just a minute, type something in. Great question. There actually is no preferred technology. RSS feeds they're a text file. So the reason why I showed Firefox is just to show that two different browsers actually format things very differently, but they're still using the same information. I actually do most of my work in Chrome. I often have both web browsers running. But in this case, like if I'm developing an RSS feed, I'm actually working with a text editor. I don't know if AIDS.gov canceled their RSS feeds, and when they switched to HIV.gov, I just pulled up their site, and I'm not seeing an obvious subscription for subscribing, but that it could just be as they're switching technologies. It would be great to have a follow-up with an example or two showing how to upload content to a feed. Yeah, I absolutely, that would be another good follow-up. So I agree with that.
You can set that up for a future call.
Yeah, I think we can keep working towards that. Absolutely.
Gotcha.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to hide this. I'm hiding the results. If you guys wouldn't mind, just quickly answer the following. This would be helpful for me and helpful for us as we kind of can send this on to the NCRC. No one can see who voted what. If you want someone else to do your presentation, on the next thing, it won't hurt my feelings. I just, want to kind of see if we're on track and if I'm on track, and if there's anything that we can do to improve. So just take a second, swipe through the options there, and you might have to hit, if it's not showing you a 3-question poll on your browser, you might have to hit the go to next question button. So that. I'm going to hop over.
Are you seeing results?
I'm not seeing results. No, I hid the results because I didn't.
Oh, you hid the results. Okay.
Yep, I hid the results. It just would make more sense to not
Right.
not see the results. Little shortcut key there. Just hit that. Okay. All right. So thank you all very much for tuning in. And if you have any further questions,
Are there any other questions? Anyone on the line with the next few minutes we have? I'm sorry, earlier I said it was going to be an hour and 45-minute meeting. I was wrong. It's 45 minutes.
Yeah. I heard that too, and I said, that's fine. I'm not going.
I realized 10 minutes into the call, I was like, wait a minute. But thank you so much, Clint, for this information. I do hope that folks will reach out to you if they have questions, because we are really strongly encouraging all the programs to integrate this technology so that we can seamlessly share information amongst each other, make it easy for everyone and less toxic and taxing. And yeah, so I have actually your, if you give me control, I can finish up the slides.
Sure.
And I do have your email address posted in the slides as well. Are you guys kind of really loving this Mentimeter, or is it just me? That could be another fun topic as well. So thank you for introducing that to us also, Clint.
Yeah.
So are there any questions at this? Yeah, really, Meg, it was cool, right? No questions at this time. Well, we appreciate your providing your email address for anyone to reach out to you for more information. We still have some work to do to get to where we're all sharing seamlessly, so I think it might be another month or two. But yes, if you wouldn't mind doing a follow-up call on this, that would be awesome. We can discuss that offline. And just to let everyone know, our next eLearn call is tentatively scheduled for August. Again, if you have any additional topic questions, suggestions, thoughts, comments, etc., please feel free to contact me. If there's anything else, if there's nothing else, we will call it a day. Yeah? Anyone? Nothing? All right. Thanks so much.
Yes.
Happy summer, everyone. Thank you, Clint. We'll be in touch.
Sounds good. Talk to y'all soon.
Okay. Thank you.